Hi, Christopher Combest IRL, coming to you again from my lovely studio, where you'll see spiders now. They're growing upon us. Part of a new project I've been working on. I'm kind of happy about it, so we'll see where it goes, but we've been building them slowly but surely, and it's fun. So, but this photo here that we began the show with, I actually snapped this photo while I was out hiking last spring here in Ida Oberstein. The greenery, it's absolutely beautiful. Right now we're in April 2nd, 3rd, something like that. It's a weekend I don't keep up. And it's not quite green yet, right? You know, I mean, it's still cold. In fact, we've got snow yet in the forecast. I think it's going to be snowing here where I'm at in Southwest Germany for probably the next week or two. I know next week it's in the forecast, but Lord knows after that. So, I mean, just to give you an idea, I'm generally wearing a light sweater in June and July. So, August it gets warm. In Ida Oberstein here, it gets, I don't know, but I think centigrade, it was maybe a high of 25, maybe 28 degrees. I mean, we're somewhere in the high 80s, low 90s Fahrenheit, but it doesn't really feel like that, and it cools off in the evening, and it's just not really much of a summer to speak of. I think we had 4, maybe 5 hot days last year. When I say hot, I'm talking again, maybe low 90s. Fahrenheit wise, and they weren't even consecutive days. We had like 5 days of summer over the course of 3 weeks, and then der Herbst kommt, the fall came, and and it got cold again. So, but I wanted to talk about driving around in general, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about road signs, because you know there's plenty of places for you to learn about that. But if you're getting ready to come to Germany, a couple of tips: get your international driver's license before you leave your country. So if you're coming from the United States, I would get a AAA $100 international driver's license. It'll do you well. But do take some time. You know, if you get on YouTube, search the web, and learn all about German rules and road signs, because they can be quite confusing. Some of our friends over here at Learn German and Easy German have also they've got various videos that explain the signs that you'll see on the side of the road. So take some time to check those out. There's a link in the description below. But we do have some crazy looking signs here. So for example, we have the amphibians. All right, this is just a sign. It just means there's amphibians. Migratory crossing for frogs, etc. So be on the lookout for that. So when you see that sign, it's what you've got. And then, of course, we have the crosswind sign that I'm not sure what I thought it was at first, but it's a windsock. And I'm from the States, where they're usually orange. But here, black and white and kind of limp. And if it's oriented to the left, then that's where the wind is coming from, to the right, etc. So easy to go. But now this is my favorite sign of all. And those of you who have been around Baumholder in the Kreiskusel area near Birkenfeld, you might recognize this road here. But we're coming upon here, when we cross through that stoplight here, you'll see, go through the stop light, the green light, you'll see this fantastic sign off on the side of the road, and it's my absolute favorite. And it is the end of, right? So the end of limitation, so to speak. And so whatever the speed limit was before that, it's done. You know, and in my mind, that equates immediately to free for all, but it's not, right? I mean, there's still limitations, you know, unless you're on the Autobahn when that sign appears, then there really is no limitation. Just go. But on the back roads and through other areas where you'll find them, generally speaking, there will be some limits. It depends on the area, so look that up. For most of these around here, you don't really want to go over 90 kilometers an hour. If when you see that sign, maybe 100. I mean, everybody does others. I've seen. I mean, people in Germany drive fast. Period. That's cool because I don't mind it either. I like to drive fast. So. But you do get tickets, and you do get tickets a lot. And so, and as a matter of fact, you'll get them in the mail. This is my ticket here. Just recently, I got it. It's for 25 euros, and apparently I was doing 40 kilometers or something over the speed limit. And in Germany, they have this fantastic system called cameras that we don't really get a chance to use in the United States because they're unconstitutional. I think you have the right to face your accuser. So I don't think you can, but I'm not a legal expert, certainly no Juris Doctor. So ask somebody else about that. But in Germany, cameras are more than legal to use, and they'll nail you. And they have this little form. It comes filled out, and you can fill in your IBAN number, right, which is like you have this international business or banking account number, the IBAN. And then you just basically you send that to them, and then they take that out of your bank account. I have the app from my bank that I use here, and it has a handy little international bill pay feature, and I can go on and, I really feel like with most of these cities, I get so many tickets that I should just have like an account built in with them. Maybe they should come up with some sort of like maybe some sort of a special, like for 200 euros a month, you can basically drive without getting tickets through our city. When we have when there's police tragedies, killings in the news, some of my friends who are police officers here, there's some. I mean, they're really, especially last year when everything just went south for the longest period of time, and rightfully so. The police, a couple of friends of mine. A couple of artists were married to police officers, and when they came to gatherings there was like this. You're from America, Christopher. Why did the police officer do that, so to speak? I mean, they don't understand it, I don't think, here in Germany, but that's primarily because they don't really pull people over. They have cameras that do that, right? So if you're speeding, the camera gets you. And the police are used more like they're there to respond to, emergencies or, other things. Now, don't get me wrong. If a police officer is driving down the road and you pass them doing 240, kilometers an hour in an area that you should be doing 50, they're going to turn around and they're going to pull you over and they're going to give you a ticket. But generally speaking, they'll only pull you over if there appears to be a problem. So just keeping that in mind. But so the one thing that you'll learn here also is that is when you're going to the car wash, you'll have this is important. You'll have the ability to pay for the undercarriage wash, and that's important because during the winter months or any time that there's potential for ice, snow, etc., you're going to see ice being melted immediately with all of the snow trucks, the salt trucks. The salt trucks are out, and salt is being sprayed on everything. One morning here, I'm on I usually take the main road from my apartment over to the Autobahn, and my Autobahn straight into the Kaiserslautern area to go to work. But there was a closure on the road, so I had to take this dark back road. And you can see here, I mean, it was quite dark, and it was still pretty icy. The ice trucks, salt trucks had not gotten there just yet, and so, here, for example, this is I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do whatever my routine. But one of the things I love to do when I wake up is have an espresso and take my pipe out and go stand on the back patio. And I'm a couple floors up above the street. And so I have this great view back into the parking area and to part of where the river is crossed by a bridge. Actually, it's for our train system here. But looking down, you'll see that even at 5 o'clock in the morning and all that ice and snow, where the road is snowless, and that's because of the ice that had been put down just previously. The trucks come out like clockwork. You talk about German engineering and precision. The salt trucks are on top of that. So you can expect to see that when you're driving on roads. In the ice and snow, it's dangerous still, but it's not quite like, say, being back in Texas, where we're just not equipped for such emergencies. We're just really not. We don't get enough ice to warrant salt, and then people will complain because the salt rusts, the undercarriage of your car, hence the undercarriage wash at the car wash. But it really is nice here to see that the roads are taken care of in that regard. And it's fun to be out driving in all the weather, right? Not just the nice days. It really is quite beautiful. Here in Heidelberg, for example, you're driving and you'll see that there's just cars parked on the sides of the road. There's just people that will come out and get out, and they'll bring their skis, and then they'll go cross-country skiing. You'll see signs that have like a little skier, crossing the road, and that means that look out, because there's cross-country skiers that cross that site. So it is quite interesting. But more than anything, I wanted to talk about the fact that I've been here now going on a couple of years, and I've never seen a traffic accident, not once. I think driving school is like a good 2-year program for Germans, and they take driving very, very seriously. And so it's not quite like, back in the States, especially in Texas, where, gosh, anyway. But I haven't seen any accidents. People are very serious, cautious, orderly, and courteous. Driving is very much a privilege here, and you can see that in everybody's mannerisms. For example, this is my friend Carl's photograph that he sent me. He saw a traffic jam. I have not seen one yet, but he saw one. Here he's driving somewhere around the Regensburg area in his little Porsche, and he snapped this picture for me to see that what drivers do when there's something happening on the road, a car stalls, there's a fire, there's an accident. Everybody pulls off to the left and right. Everybody goes to the left and right side of the road. There's no messing around. It's literally, they just go. And then from there, it slows down to about 40 kilometers an hour. So not that fast, but certainly there's no rubbernecking that takes place. People just keep driving. It's just so unlike anything you would experience back in Texas. And I'm assuming the rest of America, but I haven't lived but for a few places other than Texas, and the experience has always been the same. American drivers have a tendency to just want to slow down, take a good look, and see what kind of horrible thing just happened, and I don't know. Then maybe they do something like, they compare that to their own bad day, and then they realize that they're having a pretty good day, perhaps. I don't know, but that's what happens when there's an accident or something on the road. Everybody moves out of the way, and then they keep moving. So traffic doesn't actually come to a stop. You'll also notice on the Autobahn that the left lane is open. No one hangs out in the left lane. It's only for passing. Now, I've seen the signs back in Texas, and I know it's only for passing there too. But no one pays attention to that. And I just keep thinking, if I ever become a police officer, which I'm not going to, I can't imagine. But if I were to become a police officer, that's all I would do. I would just drive around and I would just pull people over left and right in the left lane for being in the left lane and not passing, right? It's crazy. Here, like, for example, you're on the Autobahn. and it's a free for all out there, right? Everybody stays out of the left hand lane. They go from the left to the right, left to right. If they pass and they get right back over into the right hand lane. There's no messing around with it, right? It's very, very orderly and procedural. It's fascinating for an American driver to see this. I mean, I'm not kidding you. And so even when, like, there's a sign that'll pop up on the Autobahn that'll say 120 kilometers an hour now, so, I don't know, 80 miles an hour? I mean, I can't do the conversion in my head, but I'm around 70, 80 miles an hour is where you have to slow down to at certain places, right? You still stay out of the left-hand lane because Germans will give the opportunity for someone that wants to do 130 or 500, which is impossible, I think, but perhaps, to give them the opportunity to go over there and do that in the left-hand lane. No one ever says to themselves here, I'm going to legislate morality today. Since it's 55 miles an hour and I'm doing 55, I'm going to stay right here in the left-hand lane so they all have to slow down. See, that kind of thing. Which I hate about home. I just hate that. They get out of the lane and they move over to the left-hand side of the road only when they want to pass somebody. Otherwise, they're in the right-hand lane. It's unreal. Even when everybody is supposed to be doing a certain speed limit, it doesn't make any difference. You go over here to pass and you get back in the other lane to drive. It's absolutely beautiful. But then there's this competitive nature that comes with being an American that I can't. So I'm just as bad, right? I mean, I live here in Germany. I think I fit in rather well. Most people are surprised to hear that I am an American, to be honest with you. And then I go home. Like I was home for 2 weeks in March, and I thought I'd go home and catch up on some stuff. Flew back into DFW. Everything's pretty great. I don't really suffer jet lag, so, it's nice to go home. I hate the corona testing and stuff. And I hate the swab in the back of the brain pan that just digging that sucker in there. I hate that. But to see my family and my friends, it's absolutely worth my time. And so, got on a plane, left Frankfurt, landed in DFW 10 hours later, got off the plane. My wife picks me up. We drive from DFW back to Cleveland, south of Fort Worth. She's driving, I'm not paying any attention, whatever. The next day, I say, hey, well, because we're going to go somewhere, and I say, hey, you want me to drive? She's like, yeah, why don't you just drive, and I'll do whatever. I don't know, get on her phone, talk to people, right? It's hard to carry on conversations and drive, so she wants to sit and text her mother or whomever, so that was great. So I get on the road and immediately find myself doing 140 miles an hour, which can land you straight in jail. That's no bueno. Slow down, because you're not in Germany anymore. So it's kind of a habit that you pick up. But I've noticed, though, that all of a sudden I start seeing this left lane traffic just hanging out there, right? It just irritates me. And then all of a sudden I turn into this giant douche. All of a sudden now I'm angry. Now all of a sudden I'm competing on the road. I've lost all of my courteous skills. I've lost all the orderliness that I live with and by here in Germany, and I've become an American again, right? And it's unreal. And so I often talk about this when I'm asked questions by locals here, by anyone in Europe, wherever I happen to be visiting. Why do Americans, and then there's always that empty spot there, right? Why do Americans, and then just insert something crazy that we do that they don't understand? Why are Americans always so, and then, whatever. I don't know. Why did they attack the Capitol? Why do you have so many guns? There's just 1,000 questions because everybody else in the world is just not used to it. So it's interesting. And I used to just say, well, America's a complex, then I just stop. And then it hit me one day. I'm like, why do Americans, me? there's a lot of French origin, German origin, English origin, Italian origin, Spanish origin, Irish origin names, Asian, African descent. I mean, the United States is, sure, you can say it's the United States of America, but in a lot of ways, it's just the United States of the world. I mean, every slice of life from around this planet is there, right? And what it boils down to is that someone along the way didn't like the orderly nature of Germany in the 1870s and just said, heck with it, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to Texas, right? There's no air conditioning, right? Can you imagine going to Texas in the 1850s, like some of these German families did, right? They set up stores and hotels, inns, just farms and stuff like that. You're talking about Germany here where you have, I don't know, a couple of poisonous spiders, but nothing that's even lethal, I don't think. I'm not an entomologist, again, but it's my understanding. There's not many venomous anythings here. Not a lot that can kill you except for another human being. And even then, it probably wouldn't be with a gun. I just don't really hear this stuff here. But you go to America, hurricanes, bears, alligators, rattlesnakes, copperheads, I don't know, black widows, brown recluses, angry Native Americans who want their land back. They have arrows, right? That's what was going on back then. And the weather, my God, the weather, I've determined that you can build a fire and stay warm, but there ain't a whole lot you can do to make yourself cool, right? The weather is pretty pleasant here in Europe year round. And I can't imagine what it must have been like to be so fed up with orderly anything, or maybe their version of Jesus was a little wackier than the general European Jesus, or maybe they just didn't want to be told what to do, right? Maybe they didn't like the fact that they were poor. I don't know, any number of reasons for leaving and becoming an American. Absolutely. And I'm from America. I'm first generation American, and I'm actually quite proud to be from a country that others want to go to and live in as well. That makes me proud. As the son of immigrants, talking about other immigrants, future immigrants, that makes me happy. But I often wonder what made someone choose to leave all they knew at a time when you couldn't just send a tweet or a text or, even a long distance phone call. My grandmother went to Germany. I went to America in 1956 with my mother. They could at least, don't know how they would have. It would have been a lot of money, but they could at least make a phone call to say, "Hey, we made it." There was electricity. There were other things, right? That were available at everyone's disposal. But no, not back, 100 years prior, and when America was being settled and expansion was taking place out west. And so I find it quite fascinating. The American spirit, the thing that makes us uniquely American. We have liberty, we have rights that don't really exist in most other countries. Civil liberties, civil rights. It's a pretty cool place to be from. But for whatever reason, it's a competitive place for me. And I think a lot of people, right? I'm a really easygoing, laid back, super friendly guy. I'm an artist. I'm harmless, right? But I'm telling you, the first thing I did when I got back to the States, I got into my wife's Mini Cooper. And I thought I was on a German road. I had to slow down. I had to keep reminding myself to slow down. And I immediately turned into a jerk. A genuine, a genuine asshat is what I became when I got home and got on American freeways. And so I don't know why that is. I have my suspicions, but it's a uniquely American thing. I've read studies. I know an undergraduate back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, and I was in my late teens, early 20s in college in the 90s. I remember reading about a study that had shown that students from the South of America, of the United States, versus Northern or Midwestern students, had a tendency to respond violently to verbal affronts. They had some study in Chicago. They brought some students from major universities from around the United States, and they brought them all up to this conference. And they would stage, like bumping into somebody in the hallway and then making a rude remark and then seeing how that student would respond, you know what I mean? And yes, the students from Texas and Oklahoma and then everybody over in the South, right? Texas, by the way, is not a southern state. Texas is where the West begins, if anybody wanted to know that. If you want to go to the South from Texas, you have to drive north to Arkansas or head on over to Louisiana and on across Mississippi, etc. So, but yes, it was students from UT and other fine places like that. And I'm sure TCU, SMU, Rice, but they went up to Chicago and they all started fights, whenever somebody. So maybe it's not a uniquely American thing to be a jerk on the road. Maybe it's just a Southern or maybe even a Southwestern thing. Either way, I admit it. I did it. It was awful. I'm still considering penitence. So anyway, it's been really fantastic chatting with you this week. It's going to be really cool. I think we'll be getting another video done here pretty soon. Probably going to be focusing on the differences between COVID in America and COVID in Europe, because striking is probably the best way to put it. Anyway, we'll catch you next time. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, hit the buttons, all that other stuff, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Nice to know you.